What is shame really? What is toxic shame? Now, this is a real important thing if you're a person in recovery, either early recovery or long-term recovery. Stick around, we'll talk about it. It really will, understanding this really will improve the overall quality of your recovery. Hi, my name is Charlie Chuibaka. I am the host of Red Red Journeys, which explores the culture of recovery, primarily from addiction. Okay, so what I'd like to explore today is John Bradshaw's concept of toxic shame. John Bradshaw is like the guru of this concept of toxic shame in behavioral health and mental health. Well, I don't know if he's a guru, but he's the one who really put it out there. I have his video on my channel if you want to see the full thing, and it's really shitty quality, but hey, so that's why I'm just doing this brief summary. So let's jump right into it. If the quality of your sobriety is kind of like, or you might be one of those people who, recovery feels like a sentence almost, and we're almost resentful at the idea of recovery, because it's like, God, I don't get to do anything, man. Everybody else gets to have fun, but I'm sober, I'm clean. Yeah. So, but there might be a reason for that. All right, and also I want to put out there, this is not just for recovery from substance abuse issues. I think this topic will also explain why I really don't believe there's any such thing as a normal human being, because everybody, just like everybody has some kind of physical malady at some point in their life. Everybody at some point in their life has some kind of mental health diagnosis, even if it's just the most generalized anxiety, and that is actually generalized anxiety is the most prevalent mental health diagnosis in the world. First, let's look at what the difference is between guilt and shame, according to John Bradshaw. Guilt is actually a state of doing. For example, the one I always use is I made a mistake. I get that I made a mistake. I can go back and fix it. Kind of like, shame is a state of being. I am a mistake, and there's really no coming back from that. If you look at the self-talk associated with each, you can really see this. Like if I make a mistake, it's like, oh man, I really screwed this up. I better go back and fix it. Or actually being a musician, I've done that numerous times. Be playing, and even the most simplest chord progression is like, oops. Or I forgot how many times do we do this, and I screw it up. So I learn, I'll go back and go, oh man, let's not do that again. But if I am a mistake, my self-talk is going to be, God, Charlie, can't you do anything right? Look, you can never do anything right. Nothing ever goes your way. You're going to get fired from this band. And oh wait, that did happen. So there's the difference. Guilt is a state of doing. Shame is a state of being. I did something wrong, guilt. Shame, there's something wrong with me, right? I'm flawed and defective. When you contextualize self-talk like that, you really see the difference. Next, John Bradshaw talks a lot about healthy shame. So what is healthy shame? For some people, this idea is just, it doesn't make sense, because it seems we're kind of socialized to believe that all shame is bad. I really like John Bradshaw's definition of healthy shame. And healthy shame is kind of where we learn to establish boundaries. Like I was talking about with a band. This one band I used to play with, it was one of the first band I really got to tour a lot, and it was a Native American band, so nobody else is really gonna know about it. But my job was easy. I had 4 to 8 chords the whole tour, right? It was really easy, but every once in a while I'd goof up, and I remember, missing the chord progression and or missing going through the chorus or pre-chorus and whatever, and I was like, my healthy shame kicked in. I was like, oh man, you know what? Let's not do that again, right? So I established some boundaries, and even though it was really simple, which I kind of took for granted, I spent some time going over it again and again and again, and that way I knew I wouldn't make that mistake. So that's kind of like healthy shame, or say you're at work and there's some you're a male and you're at work, and then you say something really sexist and misogynist, thinking you're going to impress that girl you have a crush on, and then instead, they look at you like you're an idiot, which you might be, and hopefully your healthy shame kicks in, and you go, oh man, that was really dumb. I shouldn't say that again. I need to go make amends. All right, so there is a healthy shame, and that's where we learn to establish boundaries. Real quick, another good example for people in substance abuse issues. All right, so say you have a person who's never drank alcohol before. All right, they go to a big party, and everybody's having a good time, and they're like, oh yeah, and all their friends are like, here, have a shot, and so they drink a lot of shots, and they're like, oh man, this burns and everything, and all right, and then they get really pissed. Next morning they wake up and they're so hungover and they're puking, and then they'll say, oh my God, I'm never doing that again. And guess what? They don't. They establish their healthy shame kicks in, and they establish that boundary. Of course, if you're like, us, do that and go, oh man, that was really awful. God, what do you say? If I have another shot, he'll take it away. All right, that's when are we gonna do this again? So, okay, the difference between guilt shame and healthy shame. Now, where is all this stuff attached to? Where is the origins of our toxic, unhealthy shame? According to John Bradshaw, he talks about it's really linked to abandonment. And it's real important to understand that, he's not just talking about physical abandonment, he's talking about there not being anybody there for you. Typically, this happens when we're kids, when we're little, when we're children, and also from our caretakers, whether it's our parents or we're living with aunties, uncles, or grandparents, but we're abandoned. There's nobody there for us. I can relate to this a lot because I know when my parents got divorced, and I grew up in an alcoholic home. It was really a picture of ugly stories, like Alice Cooper's old lyrics there. And it was quite challenging. But I remember when my father was gone, after he passed away, I really felt abandoned. I was like, there's nobody there for me. I didn't, and then even when they were there growing up in an alcoholic home, like a lot of alcoholic homes, if there's a lot of violence there, arguing and fighting and emotional abuse, physical abuse, that child is not going to feel safe. And when a little boy or a little girl doesn't feel safe, that's abandonment. And so what does this abandonment do? As a human being, when we're really little, the very first stage, according to Eric Erickson, the very first stage of human development is trust. And in order for one human being to trust another human being, they have to feel safe. So if they do feel safe, that child's going to grow up, and their inner child, that authentic self in them is going to flourish. It's going to grow. It's going to mature and be part of their adult psyche. However, if somebody has a lot of abuse at the home, whether it be from alcoholic addict parents, from a religious addicted family, he talks about that. So it's not just substance abuse. It could be a hardcore military or boarding school, intergenerational trauma handed down kind of family. I mean, there's a real work addicted family or something. If there's that kind of abuse and the child feels there's nobody there for them, or it's not safe to be their authentic self, then again, that's abandonment. I love the example John Bradshaw gives how in a family, oftentimes, shit rolls downhill, and then everybody picks on the person younger than them. Like nobody can get mad at dad but mom. And then it goes all the way down until you have the youngest child, and he's got nobody to roll that piece of shit down to, so he becomes a bully at school. But what I'm getting at is actually once the abandonment has settled in, right, and the human being or the child feels like they can't be their authentic self, it's not safe, that little inner child or authentic self just kind of whoop, like a black hole. It just goes in, right? It doesn't come out. It's not safe to come out. I can't be me. Like a little kid looking at the stars or playing in the woods, playing with bugs. I remember that was me. I used to like playing in the woods. I used to like playing with bugs, checking out different bugs. When I was in that zone, I was happy. I could generate that happiness just from within. And when somebody is in a toxic environment like that, that kind of goes away. It gets crushed. That ability to generate happiness from within is no longer present. So what happens then is now we start trying to find happiness outside of ourselves. All right, is this tracking me? This is really starting to make sense now. So now I'm trying to find things that make me feel good externally. In an alcoholic home, I remember thinking, I was the youngest child, and I remember thinking, nope, I'm not going to be like them. I'm never going to drink. I am never going to be like them, right? And then after more and more, abandonment, and the more and more I didn't feel safe, I kind of got curious. I was like, well, what the hell do they get out of it? Well, there's only one way to find that out, right? So what I did, I remember I was at my friend Mercy Apodaca's house. Bless you, bro. He's been gone for some time, but we had this big slumber party with my friends. I think we're in the 7th grade, and his mom was out on a date. She had this huge bar. And so we all started doing shots. We take a shot from each bottle, and there was like 7 or 8 of us, and I mean, man, we got shit face. But I remember that feeling. I had that brotherly love, right? With all my best friends, that we were laughing, we're having a good time, we're joking around, and I don't recall ever feeling that before. And God damn it, man, I just didn't want it to end. I didn't want it to end. So I was always good time Charlie. I was always partying. I was just a kid, but I was like in book Alcoholics Anonymous, so they talk about the alcoholic who's not just drunk a little bit, he's always drunk. I mean, that was me as a teenager. I was always not just a little buzz. I was always either, high on something or totally shit-faced on booze. And because I was always trying to capture that feeling outside of me. I couldn't generate happiness from within. And we have to address that if we're going to live sober. We have to. And what happens when somebody has this toxic shame is that our authentic self is crushed. And you know what? I'm no longer allowed to be me, to be human. So some people will get their toxic shame and they'll be more than human, which means there'll be some hypercritical prick. They'll be criticizing everybody around them, every person, place, or thing. In fact, the only way they can feel any kind of joy is by making people be underneath them, by criticizing them. A very narcissistic feature, characteristic. Doesn't mean the person's full-blown narcissist. It just means you're a dick. Another example, more than human, would be, everything has to be perfect. It can be at work. Everything has to be done this way, this way, this way. And if it's altered, it's like, I'll lose my shit. Or if I come home and things are, not put away or anything, the person will freak out. And then it's always everybody else's fault in the home. And then also a person can get that shame and they can be, instead of playing God, being more than human, they can be less than human. They'll drop out of school, just give up on hygiene, let their hair grow long, play in a band, and anyway, they let everything go. And it's also possible for a person to be both. You can have somebody who goes to work and, everything's perfect about the way they look. Their performance at work is top notch. And then they go home and just let it all go, man. And their place looks like a hoarding nightmare. And they just, lying on the couch all sprawled out, drunk and passed out and cat poop and everything everywhere. People can be both, so it's not an absolutist kind of thing. All right, so next let's look at this cycle of shame. But there's the shame-based identity. I'm flawed, defective. I can't do anything right. Nothing goes right for me. And then next comes the distorted thinking of, I can't handle this shit, man. I can't be this way. I need a break. So I start obsessing on the booze, the dope, or sex addiction. And then comes the acting out cycles. Now I'm cruising around the streets. I'm looking for, a prostitute or something, or I'm looking for my, trying to find my connect. And when we act out, it's that, like John Bradshaw says, I really like the way he says it. It's that moment of atonement. I feel so put together. Like after a stressful day at work and I have those few shots, it's like, I'm put together, right? I've transformed. Now I'm finding a little bit of joy. Next is the life-damaging consequences. A person gets a DWI, they get divorced, their children start using and drinking. You start, if you're a teen, start getting illegal trouble and whatnot. And you get court ordered to treatment, and then now you're in treatment going, damn, man, see, I'm worthless. And so it's this cycle. A good compass for this stuff to see where somebody is at in their recovery or their wellness, is self-talk. Again, what does my self-talk usually consist of? Do I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, Charlie, you're such an asshole. Look what you did. And that's going to be with me for the rest of the day. There's got to be some healing to this. And I'll make a video next and look at see how we can heal from this stuff. So quick summary. There's the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is a state of doing. Shame is a state of being. There's a healthy sense of shame, and that's where we establish boundaries. Like you date that crazy ass person who's just so freaking off the rocker, and then you go, man, I ain't never dating somebody like that again. That's what a healthy person would do. People of our brand would think that's normal if we already have toxic shame. And then there's abandonment. That's where it starts from. Where in some form or fashion, we were abandoned when we needed help the most was when we were abandoned. Like if somebody gets honest with themselves about their substance use and they say, Dad, Mom, I think I really have a problem. I'm wondering if I could go to treatment. It takes a lot of courage to admit that. And then say the parent goes, oh, you just need to quit. Look at you. Why don't you be like me? When I was your age, I just quit all on my own. You're like this because this. So they get abandoned again. And so there goes that cycle. I have to find solace back in the bottom of a bottle or in the pipe. And also, we start, when we have our toxic shame, we become more human. We're playing God. We're criticizing. We're better than everybody else. Any problems in my life is always somebody else's fault. And then or become less than human and give up on everything. And again, people can be both. So next video after this, we'll be looking at how to heal from toxic shame and what options we possibly have. So thanks for checking me out. Please subscribe, share this video with those who are in long-term recovery or new in their recovery, and really change the quality of your life. I mean, the quality of our sobriety. Sobriety is such a gift, and it's a shame. Oh, there's that word. It's a shame to let this emotional, spiritual infection take away what we can really be in our recovery. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. I'll go on that. Let's end in for get the fuck out of here. No, it means goodbye, and now we'll bye.